Hey, today in this video I am going to talk about certain questions which you definitely a rather must put across to the hiring manager while getting recruited. These answers are the must-have answers. Why are you not getting answers for your questions? Maybe you are not perhaps asking those questions to the hiring managers during the course of the interview, while given a chance that yes, if you have any question, please put across to me. I am here to answer such questions. However, despite the fact that the hiring managers are giving you the opportunity in the interviews, you are actually as a potential candidate, as a potential interviewee, you are thinking, you are hesitating, and rather taking a seat back and thinking and contemplating and just scared and fearing the very fact that if I ask a question that might backfire. No, not at all. You are here, you are being interviewed, and definitely you have all the rights in order to ask the questions which are confusing you, the answers which you have not gotten till now. During the course of description of the entire job role which is coming across to you through the hiring manager who is sitting and chit-chatting with you throughout the discussion in that particular interview, this is your right, and this is something which you should know that yes, when given an opportunity in the interview towards the end by your recruiter, by the hiring manager, that yes, if you have any questions, please put across to us. We are here, we are happy to answer all such questions. Why are you guys taking a seat back and not asking questions, the relevant questions which are striking your mind now and then, crossing your mind now and then? This is the right time. Questions which I am going to discuss in this very video are based upon the researches which have been conducted across the globe, related to the very fact that definitely the very dominating and predominating factor which is at the top, because of which the candidates, the potential candidates, your potential employees, and definitely you, if you are the candidate for a particular interview, you are scared, you are fearing. Researchers across the globe have proved that the dominating thought in a potential candidate, in a potential employee, while sitting during the course of the interview and listening to the hiring manager, crosses his or her mind, which is, are your team members, are your teammates or your colleagues, your peers, feel that yes, they are dependent on someone, they can approach someone when they really need that person. And how are the employees fulfilling their commitments and leading by examples? If you being a potential candidate sitting in an interview facing the hiring manager or the hiring recruiter, and if you're not getting clarity through his answers for these many questions, then how and what all questions can you ask? The very first question needed to be asked to the hiring manager or to the hiring recruiter is, how do you build trust in your team? Second question, how comfortable and safe are your team members in order to admit their mistakes? These questions and these answers are eligible and applicable and will make you empowered if you are worried in terms of trust, in terms of loyalty, in terms of honesty, in terms of definitely how safe will you be if you commit any mistake, and all these thoughts are crossing your mind now and then, back and forth. Henceforth, I always suggest to the candidates, to the potential employees who all are applying for the job interviews, what all questions you guys can ask to the hiring managers, to the recruiters. Do read these questions and keep this particular guide handy with you in order to be consulted in every interview from now onwards. Now comes the second very reason because of which the candidates are perplexed. They are not getting answers, sufficient answers. They are not asking and posing sufficient questions to the hiring managers and the recruiters during the course of the interviews throughout the globe. In terms of raising their concerns for the very company they are being interviewed by the hiring manager at that moment. Now that you are very concerned about how to raise concerns and how this process of feedback particularly works in this very company for which I am being interviewed, in order to get the answers for such questions, here is the list for you to consult. And the very first question you need to ask is that when did last you give a very hard feedback, and how was that received by your team? Second question, how comfortable are your team members in order to raise sensitive and difficult concerns in your team? Third question, how frequently the feedback is given and received in your team? Fourth question, do you hold regular catch-ups with your team members? And the very last question to be asked is, how is the process of feedback and the overall tonality working? Till now we have talked about the very two reasons at the top because of which you guys who all are sitting in the interviews, who have sat through the interviews, have not been able to understand the way the organization, the company, the industry, and of course that particular department and domain is working. You have never ever gotten that clarity, because of which you are very much concerned that how am I going to be treated, and because of which definitely your thoughts are not put across the way they have to be across to the hiring manager, to the hiring recruiter who is sitting across the table during the course of the interviews you are taking. Now let's talk about the very third reason because of which you guys, the candidates, the potential employees who all are sitting in the interviews today, tomorrow, or maybe months or years later, they all are perplexed and baffled. They are not getting the answers, and the question is, you really want to know where your business or your company will go from here. Days later, months later, or years later. If you're not getting good answers from the hiring managers or the recruiters, thereby you need to ask certain questions to the hiring managers in order to get your answers in terms of understanding where your company or the business will go from here. First question which needs to be answered by the hiring manager posed through you as a potential candidate, as a potential employee sitting in that particular interview has to be, where do you see your company or your business or your startup or your NGO, or for that matter this particular department or domain in next 5 years? Second question, how frequently the CEO, CXO, senior managers, senior directors, they come and take feedbacks? These are the various questions which you need to ask to the hiring manager in terms of your concerns. If your concern, the topmost concern which is crossing your mind now and then back and forth, and you are perplexed, you are baffled in order to join, whether or not to join this particular company, organization, and you want to acquaint yourself with the growth pedestal of this particular organization before you join it as a potential employee. The answers are here throughout this video. You need to watch it very carefully and keep it handy as a checklist in order to consult these questions. Fourth reason because of which you guys need to ask these questions to the hiring managers, because you are perplexed at the time of the interviews. You really want to know that what is the path of success in this particular company, in this particular organization, department or domain, in this very industry in which you are going to join after the interview. The questions should be, first question, how do you set expectations and goals in this very job role for your team members? How does success look like for this particular job role? Next question, how does career growth look like in this particular job role? And the very last and important and beautiful question, how comfortable people feel while asking for help in your team? These are the questions for very reasons which I have mentioned, which have been come out as the 4 most top rated questions and reasons in various researches which are happening across the globe, which are actually hindering you, restricting you, hampering your selection, your decision, the clarity which you want through the hiring managers, through the recruiter, in order to take fast decision and execute and join a particular company or a particular domain throughout the globe. Whereby from now onwards you will be asking these questions to the hiring managers, to the recruiters, in order to get clarity, in order to make fast decisions, in order to not to lose the opportunities which are hanging on for a long time and you have not even decided as yet till date. Why? Because you have no one to mentor you, to guide you, in order to take empowered decisions, in order to think and have clarity whether or not this particular job role, this particular very company or domain or department is good for you, a good fit for you. Henceforth, just keep this particular checklist handy with you. You will get all your answers and your decision will be fast, and you will never ever lose the opportunities which are meant for you to join.